is a very complex and subtle message, requiring many volumes of Vedic Sanskrit codes for its complete expression. Certainly, without some form of error correction, there is no possibility of this great message being transmitted without error. The esoteric teaching uses two types of error correction protocols: literary and instructional. The literary error correction protocol uses a specific message header called a mula mantra to signify the beginning of a mantra or transcendental message. The mantra itself is encoded in the form of Sanskrit sacred poetry. Each line of poetry is written in a specific meter having a particular number of long and short syllables. The sum of the long and short syllables must equal a predefined value for that meter. After hearing the mantra, the student must be able to copy or repeat it perfectly. This prevents duplication errors in copying or transmitting the mantra, even in situations where modern publishing technology is unavailable, and the message must be copied by hand. The instructional error correction protocol relies on another feature of Sanskrit sacred poetry, which in this mode has at least 7 distinct levels of esoteric encryption. The teacher can assess the student's level of realization by asking for an analysis of the meaning of the mantra. The student's response will indicate how deeply he has been able to realize the esoteric meaning of the mantra, which can only be decrypted by personal experience of self-realization. The teacher then awards the student a degree of initiation appropriate to the level of self-realization he has actually attained. This is the principle of an authentic esoteric school. Of course, this also means that the level of understanding of the student is limited by that of the teacher. This is all the more reason to search for a fully self-realized master teacher. In the school of the esoteric teaching, the student is able to verify that what the teacher says is identical to the written message in the Vedic literature. The teacher examines the student to make certain that he has duplicated the teaching properly before awarding initiation or authorizing him to teach others. We use all these error correction methods in the community of the esoteric teaching. Western yoga and tantra schools claim that their teachings are based on the ancient Vedic tradition. If so, then why are their teachings and practices, and especially their results, different from the ancient traditions they claim to represent? Western yoga and tantra schools use no error correction protocol. Since they are just commercial businesses, not really esoteric schools, anyone can attend their classes simply by paying for them. There are no prerequisites or other entry requirements. The teachers are not initiates of any authorized Vedic lineage. They do not check the understanding of their students according to the esoteric principles, and the students do not get initiation or the approval of their teachers before passing on the teaching. Often, students mix the ideas of several teachers when they begin to teach their own classes. Therefore, Western Tantra and Yoga schools are not faithful to the original Vedic version of their disciplines. So, how can they deliver the powerful results of actual Yoga and Tantra? The answer is simple. They can't, and they don't. So that was a very complex explanation, but the point is actually simple. That we have to accept the teaching of the original Vedic literatures intact, as it is, without changing anything. This is called duplication. We have to make a mental copy of the original teachings before we can start working with them, or what to speak of speculating with them. Without making an exact copy, we can't be sure that what we're practicing is the same thing that the Vedas are talking about. So the first thing is to go back to the original source and to understand it perfectly, look up each and every word if necessary, to accurately copy the teaching in our own minds. Otherwise, if we start working with that teaching independently, without any guidance or without any verification that our copy is correct, then who knows what the result will be. So the fidelity of our copy is verified by the master teachers. The master teacher is an initiate, a self-realized soul in the lineage coming down from the original teacher, Vyasadeva, of the Vedic teachings. So because he has been approved by his master teacher, and that master teacher has been approved by his master teacher, all the way back to Vyasadeva himself, therefore we know that the current master teacher in the line of disciplic succession has realized the same absolute truth as the originator of the succession. That is the principle. Then the student, by approaching the current master teacher, can verify that his understanding is also correct and that his realization is also identical to the original purpose of the teaching. When that occurs, then the student is given initiation according to their degree of self-realization. So, these four practices, duplication, understanding, contemplation, and realization, are there in every subject matter, but they are especially important in the subject matter of the esoteric teaching. The reason being that from a perfect copy of this ancient teaching, we can begin to think through it for ourselves, to understand, well, why is it this way? Why does it work that way? Why are there these particular principles and these particular practices? And how does it produce its effects? And if we do this, we'll find an astonishingly complex and sophisticated system of esoteric psychology, of information technology, and ultimately of consciousness. Consciousness is really the focus of the esoteric teaching. It's not just information. It's information arranged in a particular manner known as an ontology. And if you study ontology, we don't have time to go into all the different aspects of ontology here, but if you go look it up on the internet or look it up in a good library, you'll find out that an ontology is the most sophisticated form of arranging information that Western thought has been able to devise. But this same form of arranging information was already in use thousands of years ago in the Vedic esoteric teaching schools. So what is the point? Oh, the point is that these schools were already aware of the most sophisticated ways of arranging information to ensure their accurate transmission to the distant future. That means their knowledge was very much advanced beyond what we know today about consciousness, the human soul, and self-realization. So if we take full shelter of the esoteric teaching and practice these methods honestly, within a very short time we'll get the result and rediscover our original, spiritual, perfect body. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of My Perfect Body. This is David Hughes, your host, reminding you to visit us on the web at esotericteaching.org, where you can purchase the complete Esoteric Teaching Introductory Seminar DVD and many CDs of transcendental music and mantras.